He would go to the swimming pool. I go set the pool up for him so he could lay out by the pool.
He was the king of rock and roll. She was the quiet woman behind the scenes. For 10 years, Nancy Rooks lived inside Graceland, folding Elvis's shirts, cooking his midnight meals, and witnessing the private life no fan ever saw. For decades, she said nothing. Until now. Just before her death, Nancy finally broke her silence, and what she revealed has shaken the very foundation of Elvis Presley's legacy. This isn't tabloid gossip. This is the truth from the woman who was there in his final hours. And once you hear it, you'll never look at Elvis the same way again. Nancy arrived at Graceland in 1967, hired through an agency to temporarily cover for someone sick. But Vernon Presley saw something in her, a calm presence, a tireless work ethic. What was supposed to be a short assignment became a decade-long journey inside the most famous home in America. At first, Nancy just cleaned, but soon she was cooking midnight meals, helping Elvis get dressed, singing gospel songs with him in the kitchen. He was the king to the world, but to Nancy, he was just Mr. Elvis. She knew his moods, his cravings, when to speak and when to leave him alone. He liked his bacon fried hard, his eggs scrambled just right, and his dinner served well past midnight. Nancy adjusted to his rhythms without complaint. Elvis didn't follow a normal schedule. He might wake up at 5 p.m., eat breakfast at 8 p.m., and ask for sweet potato pie at 3 a.m. Nancy adapted. She didn't just work in Graceland, she became part of its living pulse. She saw the people who came and went, the girlfriends, the Memphis Mafia, the Hollywood stars. She also saw the quieter moments, the loneliness that lingered after the parties ended, the sadness that surfaced when the house fell silent. Elvis would sometimes wander into the kitchen late at night and ask Nancy and his grandmother to sing hymns with him. Not to perform, just to feel something familiar. But through it all, Nancy never spoke. She never gave interviews, never leaked stories. Even when others cashed in on Elvis's name, she remained silent. Until near the end of her life, when she whispered the words, "It's time to tell everything." What she shared changed everything we thought we knew about Elvis Presley's final hours. Because Nancy wasn't speculating. She was there. In the summer of 1977, the atmosphere inside Graceland shifted. The music still played, the laughter still echoed. But beneath it all, something felt wrong. Elvis wasn't himself. He was tired, heavier, slower. His appetite faded. Some nights he asked for full meals. Other nights he barely touched his water. He moved with effort, sat down slower, often looked like he was in pain. But he hadn't given up. He had tour dates scheduled. He was talking about making changes. He was planning something bigger. Nancy recalled that he spoke about leaving it all behind, not out of despair, but a desire to start over. "I wish I could just be a man again," he said. "Just a man, somewhere quiet." On the night of August 15th, Elvis played racquetball with Ginger Alden and his cousin Billy Smith. After the game, he returned to the house around 4 a.m., sweaty and tired. Nancy was already in the kitchen. She offered him breakfast, like always. He shook his head. "No, I don't want anything to eat now," he said. "I just want some sleep. But I would like some water." Nancy asked Pauline, another maid, to bring it to him in a jug, the kind orange juice used to come in. And Elvis grabbed that water like a man dying of thirst, drank it fast, desperate. Pauline noticed it too. "I never saw him drink like that," she said later. Nancy brushed it off. "He's just tired from racquetball," she told Pauline. But the moment stuck with her, and in hindsight, it glowed with eerie clarity. Around 9:30 a.m., Nancy heard a sound upstairs, a thump. Not loud enough to alarm, but strange. She paused, waited, heard nothing more. So she kept cleaning. Hours later, Ginger's voice came through the intercom, trembling. "Something bad has happened up here." Nancy ran upstairs, down the hall, into the bathroom. And there he was, Elvis, face down on the floor, unmoving. She didn't scream. She ran downstairs to alert the others. The Memphis Mafia scrambled. Paramedics were called. But Nancy had to guide them, show them how to get the stretcher through the tight hallways, up the stairs. When they carried him down, she said, he looked like he was sleeping. But he had been gone for hours. In the chaos, someone, she never said who, told her to straighten up a little, wipe a surface, fold a towel. At the time, she didn't think twice. But in the years that followed, she wondered, had she unknowingly cleaned up a crime scene? Had she helped cover something up? For decades, Nancy said nothing. She published a memoir in the 1990s, Inside Graceland. It was warm, respectful, filled with stories of bacon and gospel songs. But the final chapter, the one the world wanted most, was vague. What she didn't put in writing, she carried in silence. Until the end. In her final months, something changed. She became more reflective, more honest. And then, one day, she said the words no one expected. Elvis didn't just die. He faded, and no one stopped it. She spoke of the pills, how many there were, how casually they were handed out. She believed Elvis wasn't being cared for. He was being managed. He wasn't suicidal. He was tired, spiritually, physically, emotionally. She remembered how he would fall asleep mid-sentence, how his body was shutting down slowly. And yet, he was still making plans, still trying to break free. He kept books upstairs on spirituality, health, transformation. He wanted change. He wanted peace. And she remembered something else. A few days before he died, Elvis asked her, "Do you believe people can start over?" She said, "Sure, if they want to." And he replied, "Maybe I will. Maybe one day I'll wake up and leave all this, just disappear." He smiled, half joking. But Nancy always wondered if he meant it. After his death, Nancy stayed at Graceland. She worked the night shift, helped convert the mansion into a museum, but the upstairs quarters remained closed. Only a few were allowed in. Nancy cleaned it once a month. Each time she stepped into that bathroom, the memories returned. And sometimes, it felt like Elvis was still there. Nancy Rooks once shared a quiet story, just one, and never for attention. She had been resting in the trophy room at night, surrounded by his glittering suits and golden records, when something, or someone, shook her foot. She jolted awake, but no one was around. Smiling softly, she whispered into the empty air, "Mr. Elvis, I know what you did, trying to wake me up." It wasn't fear. It wasn't drama. It was familiar. That was Elvis, playful, present. Even after death, maybe he hadn't entirely left the home he loved, or the people who loved him. When Nancy's final confession quietly emerged, it didn't explode across news outlets. But within dedicated Elvis fan circles, it was like an emotional earthquake. Some fans felt confused, even betrayed, by the suggestion that more had been hidden. But others finally felt seen. They no longer viewed Elvis as a man who simply crumbled under fame. They saw him as a man who was still fighting, still trying. And Nancy, who had stayed silent for nearly half a century, finally spoke. Not for fame or gain, but to share something real. Her truth wasn't loud. It was human. And that's what made it unforgettable. She believed Elvis was ready to live, that he was searching for something better, that he didn't die because he gave up, but because too many people looked the other way. And in the end, Nancy carried that truth until her final breath. She didn't break her silence for attention. She did it for peace. Elvis wasn't just a king, he was a man, trying to find rest, trying to be free. And maybe, just maybe, he almost did. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more untold truths and behind-the-scenes revelations. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a moment. Your support helps keep these powerful voices alive, and there's so much more to uncover. Stay tuned. Thanks for watching.